Happy Earth Day! It is Lindsey Grimm, Morrow County Recycling Director, and Keep Morrow County Beautiful, reading our third environmental story this week, and this is one of my newest favorite books. It is called The Wartville Wizard, written by Don Madden. The road to Wartville traveled over a hill. In a neat and tidy house on top of the hill lived a neat and tidy old man. This is the story of how he became known as the Wartville Wizard. Every morning, the old man looked out his window and watched the birds playing in the bird bath. He saw the flowers dancing in the sunlight and the trees waving in the breeze. From inside, it seemed a perfect place, but when he went outside, he saw that it was not. Under the beautiful flowers, he found soda bottles thrown from cars during the night. By the mailbox, he saw juice cans, plastic cups, and straws. Along the road, he spotted more litter, empty cigarette packs, newspaper, candy wrappers, and all kinds of trash. Once he found a worn-out baby buggy full of pacifiers. Another day, he discovered a broken toilet seat leaning against the garden gate. Every day, the old man became angry. The more trash he saw, the more angry he got. Sometimes he ran back to his house and up the stairs and leaned out his bedroom window. Taking a deep breath, he yelled, "The people of Wartville are slobs!" Then the old man took a burlap sack from the garden shed and walked along the roadsides, collecting the trash. Day after day, month after month, he trudged up and down the road with his burlap sack. Some days were not as bad as others, but there was always something to put in the sack. He knew if he stopped cleaning, everything would be smothered under a blanket of trash. "Slobs! Slobs! Slobs!" he grumbled. One day, the old man struggled up the hill with a very extra heavy load. The afternoon before the senior citizens football team and the gourmet motorcycle club had their annual picnics. "What a mess," he says. When he got home, he emptied the sack into a big barrel and jumped up and down on top of the heap, squeezing the garbage so that nothing would fall out. But a plastic lid did fall out. "And have a nice day," it said. All this trash does not even fit in his trash barrel. The old man shook his head and walked slowly into the woods. He was tired of collecting the trash. He was tired of pulling and dragging. He was tired of jumping up and down and making the barrel hold more. And just plain tired of trash. It no longer helped to yell, "You slobs!" He stopped. He stopped in the clearing in the middle of the woods and looked up at the treetops. Then he looked into the blue beyond and whispered, "Mother Nature, I've tried to keep your hill and green places clean, but I can't go on. I am tired." He heaved a sigh and sat down on the ground. Suddenly, soft music played around the old man, and then all was still. Even the birds stopped singing, and the bushes and the trees stopped rustling their leaves. The old man let the quiet wrap around him like a cozy blanket. It was brief, but when it passed, he knew he had been given the power over trash. Ooh, don't we wish? He felt calm and restated as he walked back to the road. A long, shiny automobile drove by. Out of the back window, a small hand tossed a candy wrapper into the air. It was a Cruncho Snuggles wrapper, and it flattened in the side of the road and settled on a clump of dandelions. The old man looked at it and frowned. He pointed his finger at it and said, "Go back and stick to the person who threw you." The wrapper wriggled. Then it shot up into the air and flew down the road after the automobile. In the back seat, little Barbette felt something hit the side of her face. She reached up and found the Cruncho Snuggles wrapper on her cheek. She pulled it. It would not come off. That night at dinner, Barbette wore a bandana around her face. She said she was playing pirate. She didn't want her parents to see the wrapper since she wasn't supposed to eat candy after all. The next morning, as usual, there was trash along the road, but the old man didn't use the burlap sack this time. He simply pointed to each bottle, can, box, and piece of litter and sent it back to whomever had thrown it, exactly as he had done with the Cruncho Snuggles wrapper. It was certainly easier than dragging it all up the hill, and he felt so much happier. But there were people in Wartville who were not happy. Harvey had just gotten home from work at the bathtub factory 5 miles out of town. As he stepped through his front doorway, an aluminum can hit him in the back of the neck and stuck right there. Mr. Hardboard, the chairman of the Wartville Real Estate Society, was startled when a damp, burned-out cigar suddenly attached itself to his elbow. Oh my golly. And Mrs. Butts let out a piercing scream when a paper bag full of garbage chased her down the street and stuck to her rear end. That is so funny. The only doctor in Wartville, it was Dr. Splint. That night, there were a lot of people in the waiting room wearing really strange outfits. They were trying to hide the things that were attached to them. As the patients came into his office one by one, Dr. Splint began to worry. "I have never seen anything like this," he said. "It may be an epidemic." He told the people he would go to the next town and ask another doctor for advice. He said to his patients, "Come back to see me tomorrow afternoon, and maybe I'll have an answer." The doctor passed the old man's house as he drove over the hill to the next town. He was worried about his patients. He opened a pack of gum and took out 2 pieces at once, throwing the gum wrappers out his window. Dr. Splint did not learn anything from the doctor in the next town, but he did get something out of his trip. The next afternoon, when he opened his office door, the people in the waiting room gasped. They saw a gum wrapper stuck to each of his ears. "Oh my goodness," said Mr. Hardboard. The people went home, and they were all very depressed. As the days went by, more and more townspeople began to wear strange outfits. One lady went to the market in a tent. When she was leaving, she met a friend wearing a quilted plastic gourmet bag. They got stuck together to go out the door. A sofa slipcover walked into the library and returned an overdue book. The librarian fainted. And down at the bus station, a very upset sleeping bag and a large beach umbrella were also seen leaving town. These are silly costumes that could have been avoided. Poor little Barbette was sick and tired of wearing the bandana to hide her Cruncho Snuggles wrapper that was on her face. She decided to go for a long walk. "When I get out of town, I'll be able to take this thing off for a while," she mumbled. Walking slowly along the road that traveled over the hill, she undid the knot and removed the bandana. The Cruncho Snuggles wrapper crinkled in the breeze, but the air felt so good on her head. Halfway down the other side of the hill, Barbette saw the old man looking for trash. She didn't want to be caught without her disguise, so she hid behind the bush and peeked out. The old man had found a pile of empty soda cans, some popsicle sticks, and a milk carton. He pointed his finger at each piece of the trash and said something Instantly, the soda cans and popsicles sticks and the milk carton jumped into the air and flew down the road to Wartville. Barbette's eyes almost popped out of her head. She waited until the old man had gone into his house. Then she ran down the road as fast as her little legs would carry her. "He's a wizard!" she sputtered. "A wizard with power over trash. That's why things are sticking to everybody. He's a wizard!" When the townspeople had heard Barbette's story, they decided to call a meeting. By this time, almost every family in Wartfield had been stricken, and some people were in really bad shape. Especially Jimmy, who couldn't even fit through the door. Dr. Splint called the meeting to order. He asked the group to keep calm. While he spoke, the gum wrappers in his ears wiggled and waved. The meeting lasted late into the night. The people wanted to show one another the nasty trash that they had been trying to hide. They were all relieved to know that others had the same problem. The meeting was tiring, and the lady with the bag of garbage on her rear end because she wasn't even able to sit down. Finally, Mr. Hardboard stood up. "I move we adjourn this meeting and get some sleep. Tomorrow, we'll go out to this wizard's place and demand that he remove all of this awful stick-ons." And everyone agreed. When the old man looked out his window the next morning, he saw cars and trucks pulling up and parking all around his house. Even the sheriff's car was there. The old man stepped outside. He was glad to see that the sheriff wasn't wearing any garbage. "These folks claim you are a wizard, mister," said the sheriff. "They say you made all of this stuff stick to them. Let's hear what you have to say about all of this. We are all ears." Angry shouts and grumbling noises came from the crowd. "We demand action, Sheriff!" Miss Botts yelled. "Boo!" She was a nervous wreck from standing up so long. The old man looked into the crowd with a serious and steady look, taking them in one at a time. Finally, he said, "Hello, slobs!" "Arrest them all, Sheriff!" shouted Harvey. The old man gave them another steady look. "You're angry because your trash has come home to you," he said. "You've been throwing trash along the road for a long, long time, and I have been cleaning it up. I'm tired of cleaning up after you. Every piece of trash stuck to you is something you yourselves have thrown away." The grumbling and shouting changed to a murmur and then stopped. A hush came over the people. Mr. Hardboard studied the cigar butts that were stuck to him. Other people looked closely at their own stick-ons. They all began to feel very embarrassed. Suddenly, a muffled whine came from Jimmy, who was getting desperate. "Suppose we promise not to do it again?" Everyone looked at Jimmy. All they could see was a large pile of soda cans, popsicle sticks, hamburger cartons, and candy wrappers, with two skinny legs sticking out from underneath him. Wow, he was a huge litter bug. Then they looked at the old man. They weren't angry anymore. They were very ashamed. The old man smiled. He wasn't angry anymore either. He knew that they had learned a lesson. If all of you promise not to litter again, and I really mean it, the trash will stop sticking to you when you get home. Then you can put it in your own trash baskets where it belongs. The people rushed to their cars and trucks. Maybe he's not such a bad wizard after all. Little Barbette was so happy that on the way home, she almost threw the bandana out the car window, but she stopped herself just in time. Mr. Botts felt better too. Unfortunately, though, she had to ride back the way she had come, standing in the back of a pickup truck with her garbage bag rattling in the wind. Dr. Splint was glad the epidemic was ending. He opened a new pack of gum and carefully, this time, put the wrapper in his car's litter bag. When all the people had gone, the old man walked along the neat and tidy road. The Johnny Jump-Ups were lifting their heads proudly while the wild geraniums were beaming, and everything was so neat. He was very happy because he knew it would stay that way, but he would miss yelling, "You slobs," a little, because that was kind of fun. Now, unfortunately, we are not wizards, and we cannot wish all of this litter that we see along our roadsides back to the people who had thrown it. But today is Happy Earth Day, and I hope that you'll be safe and help picking up some of this litter. In a year's time in Morrow County, we had volunteers collect over 14.9 tons of trash and litter along our back roads. So I hope that you'll be a Green Crusader and learn that you don't throw litter, but we all have to join our efforts together to keep Morrow County beautiful. Again, unfortunately, we're not wizards, but hopefully we can all join efforts together to make Morrow County beautiful. Thanks, and until tomorrow, I'll see you. Have a good evening. Good night.